I'm a Pakistani spy. I completed my training, trying to reach India for my missions. The real story of Pakistani spy. Let's move towards story. The last thing that was done to protect our secrets and comrades was to take out one of our molars and replace them with hard plastic molars, so that when the violence is unbearable, take out the molars and eat them. It was full of cyanide. It is better to embrace death and become a martyr than to be called a traitor by telling the enemy a secret so that future generations can be proud of you. This is our training and spirit by which we were prepared to fulfill our mission. Default Textway were physically and mentally ready to go on our mission. After the fall of Dhaka, India brought more than 80% of its army to the border of West Pakistan. It was known from the television reports that after the former East Pakistan, India wants to take advantage of this difficult period of Pakistan to leave West Pakistan as well. India had more pride and confidence in the then Russian Defense Treaty than in its own forces, under which an attack on India was considered an attack on Russia. During the war, Pakistani forces only fought a defensive war due to this agreement between India and Russia, and for this reason, India got ample opportunity to attack West Pakistan's effectively weak points and enter Pakistan's borders. Thus, at the time of ceasefire, 5,000 square miles of West Pakistan had been taken over by India. Not only the Pakistan army, but the entire Pakistani nation was a victim of despair. Our group was on standby, and we were given 3 days leave and instructed to leave all our belongings at home. Bring only 1 pair of shoes that have been worn and 2 pairs of pants shirts. This holiday was a departure for us. I was asked to write the names of my heirs on the papers, a copy of which was given to me to give to my heirs. My other 4 companions were regular soldiers and had already completed these papers. In the papers, there was a promise of a reasonable sum of money and more opportunities for Varna in case of death during the mission. At that time, my mother was still alive. I had a wife and a child of a few months. I wrote the mother's name first in the inheritance, and wife and child's name in the second, and left for a 3-day leave. On reaching home, I tried my best to keep myself normal. My wife could not understand anything, but my mother understood my inner state. I had not even told my family what I was doing and where I was going. They only knew that I was employed in a private company in Lahore. A few moments before departure, I handed the papers to my mother in a sealed envelope and told her to keep them. Father attended the grave of the deceased and stayed there for hours. At the time of departure, I met the mother, wife, and child as if there was no future meeting. You can imagine my inner state, but I tried as much as possible not to show any effect on my face. I told my mother and wife that I might have to go to Sri Lanka for a few months. Therefore, the manuscript may be delayed from my side. I know your well-being from the office people on the phone. I will do it, and the men of my office will deliver my package and inform you about my well-being. The things I did were as per the instructions of my seniors. All this was not given and left for the station at 7 in the evening, as we had to report at 8 the next morning. In Lahore, we were taken blindfolded in a closed jeep. And when the blindfold was opened, we were in a hall where there were many chairs. Our seniors. A few moments later, a gentleman in 100 billion dresses entered and was saluted by our seniors by clapping their heels. He shook hands with all of us one by one. He congratulated us on the successful completion of the training and said that successful implementation of the mission on which you 5 people are going will help Pakistan a lot. Therefore, from the depths of the soul, if you are freed from the life of obedience and martyrdom, then accept martyrdom, because death will surely come one day. Our enemy is so insidious that by making false promises of peace and luxury, his religion is hidden, and after knowing all the secrets, he will not leave you, but he will die a painful death. An incident which I will explain in very short words. Mir Sadiq, who betrayed Sultan Tipu Shahid, was awarded manor and stipend up to the 7th race by the British. The stipend was paid from the treasury of Sarangi Padam. If only they were high officials in the government. For other matters, Indians were employed by the government, How strange and sad is the fact that from the War of Independence in 1857 to independence in 1947, the number of British civil servants in the entire subcontinent was never more than 2,500. And these 2,500 British were working as British employees, but in which 80% were Hindus. The entire subcontinent was ruled by tyranny. It is a historical fact that when the heirs of Mir Sadiq were called upon to pay stipends, they would not accept it exactly the practice in today's courts, according to the method used to call out in a loud voice that the heirs of Sir Sadiq Trader should be present. He gave an example that Bahadur Shah Zafar's Sir Hakim Hassan, who had arrested Bahadur Shah, had migrated to Karachi after the partition of India and got government jobs and trade. I am busy, but those people do not mention the name of their forefather Ahmed Hakim Hassan, and if anyone knows about him, they call him very humbly. Do not advertise this. After this brief speech or admonition, he joined the five of us and left the room. After they left, we were all physically searched, and each of us brought with us was thoroughly searched. Cigarettes, matches, lighter were all taken, and Indian cigarettes, matches, and lighter were given. Our airbags were taken away, and we were given airbags with "Made in India" written on them. Our fake molars are fitted by 2 doctors. Some chemicals were also attached to them, with which they stuck very strongly. All of us were given Indian currency worth 5,000. And I was given one address, on which some addresses of Delhi, Agra, and Bombay were recorded. The code word was also written. These were the addresses of Indian sympathizers whom I could contact to get rupees and other required items. I had to remember this address and name. The mission we were going on had not one, but dozens of tasks. Any other than that information of an important nature, and considering the conditions there, we were allowed to do whatever seemed appropriate for the good of the country. That is, we did not have any specific important mission, but we had to get all kinds of information about the enemy, and we were allowed to do anything as per situation which could be useful for our country. Further, I was given a special mission, and that was to plant an employee of the office of the Chief of Indian Army at the Indian Army Headquarters, Delhi. In those days, there were no photocopy machines, so anything that was typed was made from ribbon paper. If the mortgage is used once or twice, then the text typed on it can be seen well. If the carbon used in this way were thrown in the trash and the cleaner, during cleaning after office hours, took out the carbon and gave it to us, we could get very important information. In addition, brigadier and higher officials used to discard the next blank page from whatever they wrote on the rough pad for protection, so that the imprints of the writing on the blank page by the force of the pen could not be seen by someone's hand. These senior officers used to tear the blank page into 2 or 3 pieces and throw it in the trash, and those trash were no less than treasures for us. My special mission was to plant the employ of the Chief of Army Staff and other typists, clerks and cleaners in the office by any legitimate or illegitimate means, and not get the required carbon, cracked plain. Once someone did this, it was not difficult to get complete information from him in the future. In India and Pakistan at that time, the method was prevalent in sensitive departments that the spy should be such in terms of appearance and physicality that he could reduce to 100 people if necessary. During this period, the spies of both countries disguised themselves as beggars, fascinate, Malings or low-level workers in the enemy country. Used to work officers from sensitive departments in Pakistan and India were trained in Scotland or India, often at the same time. As a result, the officers of both countries used to train in the same way. It is just like today, USA conducts war exercises with both Pakistan and India forces, and its internal purpose is to know the capability of our forces. Important information about Pakistani forces was given to Israel, which indirectly reached India. Until 3 decades ago, this highly sensitive duty was performed by Pakistani civil officers. Later, this work was taken over by Pakistani politicians, that is, they would have provided their secret information to the enemy. Otherwise, no soldier would have given the list of Sikh nationalists to India, nor would any soldier have talked about entering Pakistan by sitting on Indian tanks. The smart soldier did not declare, that Pakistan has an atomic bomb, nor did any soldier rate India as a most favored nation. Politicians are doing good work. I did not look like an Indian in any way from my height and appearance, and it was very easy to find me in hundreds, if not thousands. I was supposed to blend into the high society of India and stay in a low-class hotel. I was probably the first person to miss the mission because of my unusual height and appearance. I was the least likely to be mistaken for a Pakistani spy. Like Pakistan, Indian police and CBI also raid only low-end hotels. They also do not have the courage to enter 4- or 5-star hotels. While employed at Tarbaladar, I had access to the unknown to the officers and their demigods. The most popular ballroom dances of the era, such as square, waltz, and rock. I had mastered the end role. During my stay in India, I was greatly disturbed by these myths. Chopra family is very popular in India. They are Punjabi, tall and relatively white, so I was named Vinod Chopra. This family has made a name for itself in business, industry, and film industry, and all these are first in India. Thus, my other colleagues also have different Hindu names allotted. In the next line, the events of the mission are coming in a sequence. Before that, I think it is necessary to explain a few lines. For a spy, more important than his life is the completion of his mission. By entering India with a Hindu name, I had to do my work purely as a Hindu, and for that I had to do what is forbidden in Islam. To fulfill the mission that I went to sleep for the safety of the dear country, at any cost. During this time, I am responsible only to the one who is merciful and compassionate for the illegal and un-Islamic actions that happened to me. There once again, the mission briefing and precautionary measures were repeated. At 3 p.m., we were brought to Lahore station in 2 private cars. Basarpur from Kasur tickets was already purchased. They didn't told us that where we are going. We all entered a second-class compartment as complete strangers. 2 of our seniors were also with us. Talking to each other was strictly prohibited. At about 11:30 at night, we reached Basarpur. Their food and sleeping arrangements were made for us in the safe house. Screaming sounds were heard in a part of this safe house. Seniors told us that there are some Indians who have been caught crossing the border. They are being investigated. The permanent residents of the safe house were quietly delivering our essentials, and if we asked any questions, they would simply smile and shut up. On the second morning at 9 o'clock, we marched from Basarpur, and our caravan set off in 3 jeeps. We were not told that we were being taken away. The journey continued. It continued sometimes on the canal trail, and sometimes on bumpy and rutted roads. Around sunset, we reached a camp of tents, where Pakistani border force men welcomed us. There we were told by our seniors that we are from the border near Mandi Sadiqganj and Bahawalnagar, are only 2 kilometers away. There we were met by 2 strange villages. Exactly 10 days later, one of them was supposed to meet me in Delhi at 11 o'clock. The venue of the meeting was explained to me in detail. These 2 villagers were the operatives of a well-known smuggler of Lahore, and used to go to India twice a week through the same route, and used to go to India with pan, cashew, and cardamom, etc. They were given facility by Pakistan to cross the border and return, in exchange for which they used to bring and take the mail, etc., of the groups that had already gone. These 2 strangers were just dedicated to our group, and were assigned the duty of getting us across the border on time, and to the nearest Indian railway station, Hanyamangar. They were also given money to buy tickets from Hanyamangar to Amir Sharif, and give them to us. After giving us tickets, they should immediately return to the village of Mirzapur near the Indian border, where 2 people will not meet who will beat each other until the end of the day. On the other hand, we were given tickets from Hanyamangar to Bathinda, and parting to board the bus to Muni, which arrives 15 minutes before the bus to Amir Sharif. All these precautions were taken for our safety. Watches were also taken from us, and only 1 watch was given to me, which was available in India. At that time, its price was around 300 rupees in India. Dinner was eaten by 8:30. Immediately after the meal, we were given a black long interrobe, and a black full sleeve. A vest was given. We also took off the boots and put them in our bags along with the clothes. Now our seniors were chatting with us, but it was just to remove our tension. Otherwise, the worry was evident from their faces. In those days, after the war, we were in a state of ceasefire. There was nothing called passport and visa. It was quite possible that there was a gathering of forces on both sides of the border. The enemy used to shoot us while crossing the border. We were told that India has built a canal near the border similar to Pakistan's Barbi Canal, which it is very deep. Towards Pakistan, it is sloping, while towards India, it is absolutely. It swims and crosses the river. His training was given to us very well. Hanyamangar station was 8 miles from the border. There were 2 or 3 villages on the way. Keep us away from them when I had to run away from the village dogs. I realized why I had been trained to run continuously for several miles. On reaching the station, we had to take off our vests and underwear and put on civilian clothes and immediately send back the 2 alien guides. Travel during Bathinda, they had to be divided into separate compartments and did not communicate with each other at all. These were the last instructions. At that hour, we heard continuous gunshots come on. Our border force started firing at the enemy from a distance of about a half kilometers on both sides of the camp, and engaged the enemy in retaliatory firing. Had done this firing was a green signal for us. The senior hugged us. He was in tears. His last words were something like this: "This is a real story of Abu Shuja Abu Wakr, the man who spent long time as a spy in India and served his country." If you likes the video, please give it a like, subscribe our channel, and press the bell icon to not miss any update of this story. Comment below to let us know about your opinion. We will meet you soon. Till that, have a good care of yourself.